It was just like muscle memory. You just pop in, you just sit in the passenger side of the vehicle,
You're
be like, oh.
oh.
Hello, and welcome to our 17th newsletter. Wow. So it's been just a little over 3 months since we arrived in Japan.
Almost 4, actually.
Wow. And so,
Hisashiburi ne.
long time no see. And so we're so glad to finally make this newsletter. It's taken us far longer than we thought it would take us, but
We hoped it would take us.
and one thing that it's just been a whirlwind of transition and emotion and a lot going on, which we get to share some of it with you today. And but one thing we haven't gotten to announce yet, which maybe you probably assumed already, is that we did finally reach 100% of what we need monthly to sustain us here in Japan. So thank you very much to all of you who have partnered with us within your means. We are so humbled.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So we're here in our new home. We're excited to catch you up on all that has been going on in the past 3.5, almost 4 months. We're going to have the main section of the newsletter today, and then we're also going to have a further stories. But right now we're going to tell you about how we got here and how life has been going since we got here.
Yeah, we haven't had a further stories in a while, but there's some crazy stories about like Heather May having to make a trip to Denver and back in a day in order to get the paperwork we needed, and other stories like pre-field training and some missions conferences we went to. So we'll share that at the very end. But for now, let's talk about even just getting to the airport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our family put in a super duper team effort to get us there, including using up the entire bed of Alex's dad's truck and his mom and Mark's truck and my parents coming and our entire van being full. It was really a group effort, and we were so grateful that everyone did come to help, and we will have some pictures to show you that too.
Yeah. So, and then even you probably saw in one of the short updates we put out right when we were leaving is that my brother, you may have not recognized it, but my brother was there with his wife. They actually helped us move to Japan, similar to how we helped the McCraneys move to Japan in September when we went there for our vision trip. My brother and his wife came, and they were amazing and helped with the kids, and we'll talk more about that as well. Yeah, they were just great with the kids. They enabled us to get a lot done, and they just had a blast with Uncle Tyler and Aunt Monica, and they took them to different restaurants and different parks, and just got to enjoy some aunt and uncle time with them.
And they really enjoyed being with the kids too, because they knew it would be a while until they could do something like that again.
Yeah.
And we hope they'll come back soon.
Yeah, and it was great that we just barely got seats with them on the plane. So they also helped us, of course, on the plane getting here. And so we sat in the same row, and they hung out with our kids, and even just getting through the airports and holding hands. And it was just such a relief to have their help. And so we're so glad that they said yes to doing that. And especially even just getting all of our bags through the airport. They were a huge help with that. And thank you. There were several of you who sent us just one-time donations specifically to help us get bags here and boxes. And so since we're such a large family, that was really, really appreciated. And you can see we brought some books with us, and so thank you so much for doing that for us. And it's funny, we brought this many books with us, but there's still several times we're like, oh, I can look it up, and I don't have that book with us.
Yeah, there's like 12 more boxes of books that we hope to mail eventually.
Yes,
so we're getting there.
We're really grateful for all the help we had with that.
But we wanted to tell you a little bit about the trip with our airplane. We learned a lot from our experience when we visited Japan back in September with the McCraneys. We helped them with their kiddos, just like Alex's brother and his wife helped us with our children. And we learned that we do not want to do an early morning flight with our children, because you end up being double tired, because if you leave early in the morning, you're probably packing all night long and you don't get as much sleep. And so we got advice from some people here on the field who have large families, how they travel with their families, and they suggested leave at night. That way you get a good night's sleep the night before, and then you have that day to really make sure you have everything you need so that you can calmly show up at the airport. And we did that. And then since we left at night, our children were able to mostly sleep in the airplanes on the way to Japan. There were some scuffles, as always, with flying with a large family and children. But overall, it was really great.
And speaking of which, we didn't even fly directly to Japan.
That's so true. We flew through LAX in California, and then we flew to Korea. We did that on purpose because when we came in September, going through Tokyo, we thought we wouldn't have to go through customs till Nagoya, but that's not true. We had to go through customs in Tokyo, which means we have to uncheck all of our bags from the airport and take them through customs, and then recheck all of the bags to fly to Nagoya after Tokyo. And when we looked at how many bags we were taking and all of our children, we thought that might be impossible. So, but if we fly through Korea, then there would be a direct flight to Nagoya from there, and we could just go through customs in Nagoya. And when we finally got to Nagoya, everyone agreed it was a good idea we didn't go through Tokyo because it was just too much. But that made it so much smoother because we only had to do that one time, and we had Alex's brother and Monica to help us as well. So we were really grateful.
When we finally got to the house, this is our home. I think we might have said that already, but when we got here, bunch of parents parents of missionaries that are here and kids that are going to Nagoya Christian School where I'm teaching. They were here and they greeted us and they helped us move everything in and into the individual rooms. And that was the picture we sent out as well. So when we finally got here, and it's funny that when we first took that picture, some of the faces were less familiar to us than others, but now that we've been here for a long time, like, oh, we just know all these people now.
And it was so comforting. They had stocked up our refrigerator with food, and they had set up beds for all of our family here in the house, and even curtains so that there was some privacy. And
because in Japan, they build houses very close together.
And the sun comes up at like 4:30 in the morning, so the sun is shining in your face, so it's nice to have curtains to kind of block that out so you can sleep a little bit longer.
Because they don't do daylight savings time.
And so we were really grateful that our team, and including Stephen and Crystal McCraney, they did so much to prepare for us and help us to feel like we could start the next day.
Even getting a refrigerator installed and getting air conditioning units installed, because they don't have centralized heating or air conditioning here. That's rare, at least. So having machines set up in each room, something you have to do when you rent a place, and the McCraneys helped a ton with that.
And getting our dryer and washer.
Our team leaders helped a lot with, like Heather May. They even had the Jensens, our team leaders. They even had they pre-made meals for us, so we at least had like dinner that first night and breakfast the next day, and they even had like dessert. Like she made brownies and sliced up strawberries and bought ice cream, so we could have like this awesome dessert after a long day of travel. So so many ways that they thought about us and cared for us just in those first days. And even arriving, what day did we arrive, Heather May?
Yeah, so we arrived on April 8th of this year, and that is a really important date for me because as we've shared with many of you, that when I became a Christian at 19, God had put it on my heart pretty quick after that he put it on my heart to do missions, to be involved in sharing Jesus with other people. And but the thing is, I became a Christian on April 8th of 2009, or was it 8? It was 2008. So 17 years later, we showed up in Japan right after that happened. So it was it was unplanned and a really beautiful gift that we would show up on that day.
Yeah, and it was just like when the flight happened to work.
Yes, because we had a short window of when we could come to help Jack around to get into school, and also because Monica and Tyler had some obligations to be back in the States for. And so the one day that really worked out in getting us to Japan was to arrive on April 8th.
So for so many years, she didn't see that calling happen. And 17 years later, here she is doing the thing that she feels like God has made her to do. So
yeah,
that's such an incredible, beautiful note from God.
It's a really awesome thing to see little gifts and miracles like that, because it is so easy, I think, in the hardship of life to think that maybe I can't do this, or I was mistaken, or maybe it was something else. And I think it's just
Yeah.
easy for us to doubt because life can get so clouded.
Mm.
But I think God never stops to give us mercy and hope and point us into the direction that He wants us to go. And I feel like it was just a sweet gift to allow us to arrive here 17 years after I had seen the Lord for the first time and been called. Yeah.
And so after arriving here, the first 3 days were like planned out for us. There was an itinerary put together by our team leaders, and it was just busy all day long for those 3 days. And again, Tyler and Monica were amazing for watching the kids, but we were getting registered at City Hall. We were getting our Japanese phone numbers because you need those in order to make a Japanese bank account, and which we needed to do. Setting up Jacaranda at school, and then even I don't think we did this in the first 3 days, but we eventually got a car, and meaning we got to borrow.
No, we rented a car the very next day.
Was it? Okay.
So we got to Japan, we rented a car the next day.
Yeah, so we got an international driver's license before arriving in Japan that we can use for the first year. And so it was just crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would feel the stress in my body of like driving on the left side of the road. For like 2 weeks, I was like, my whole body was like stiff.
Yeah.
I'm like, pay attention, pay attention.
Yes, it was really crazy. But we also got to have some fun too with Tyler and Monica while they were here. We planned a trip to Nagoya Castle, and we got to spend time with them and with the McCraneys, and so it was really great for them to be here with us.
Yes.
And but another thing we thought would be fun to share with you guys is some stories of culture shock, culture differences that we never even considered. Like I people had talked to me before we left. Some of you have talked to me and said like, what's it going to be like over there? And I would always say to people like, well, we've been trying to expose ourselves to as much culture shock as possible before moving over, but you can never do enough. So like,
you don't know what you don't know.
For instance, I never thought I'd be washing my trash before throwing it away.
But here we are.
But here we are. So we have to wash our plastic before we put it in the plastic, and
some of the paper products like milk cartons and stuff have to be washed. And
yeah. And driving. Heather may have talked about it, but share what you would do when you got into the car.
So I would get in on the wrong side of the car, but I'd be too embarrassed to get back out and walk around that I would just like sneak over into the driver's chair and be like, whoops.
But it was just like muscle memory. You just pop in, you just sit in the passenger side of the vehicle, and be like, oh. There's no steering wheel here. I did that exactly once, but Heather May just brains are wired different.
Yeah, I drive more often than him anyway,
That's
so
true.
It's probably natural for you to get on.
And then one of the first weekend or second weekend that we had just ourselves as a family, we went on a hike. And so on the way down from the mountain, we saw this truck on the side of the road that was selling karage, which is basically Japanese fried chicken. And of course, I can read some Japanese, but definitely not most of it. And so we just looked at the pictures on the side of the vehicle and we said, hey, that one looks tasty. We'll have that one. And he said, okay, how many helpings do you?
Sure?
I don't know if he said that.
He looked at us weird.
He did.
Because we said, 40 pieces, please.
Yeah, because we ordered enough for the entire family, and
because they were small pieces and they came in a pack of 10.
Yeah, so we started chewing on them. We're like, this is an interesting texture, and like we didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, I was like, Heather May, just so you know, I don't want to know what this is, so don't translate it.
We should have translated it before we ordered. We have Google Translate, but we were hungry, so we're like, no, the pictures are fine.
And so I'm like, Heather May, really don't look. She's like, no, I'm gonna look. I'm like, don't look. And this happens when we watch a movie. She wants to know what actors are in it. And I'm like, don't look it up on the movie. Let's just enjoy the movie. So anyways, she does scan it and look over there. And it turns out, what were we eating that entire time, Heather?
We were eating gizzards.
Chicken gizzards.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're just like sensitive Americans not used to this kind of thing. I just kept trying to tough through it. And then eventually I was like, I don't have to eat chicken gizzards. So I stopped. But that was funny.
It was funny just because we didn't expect it at all. And we thought, yeah, that looks great. That picture is fantastic.
Sure.
And we should have translated.
Another thing that happened is we were in Starbucks. We were meeting somebody there who's helping us with translation for one of the many bits of paperwork we needed to do, and I went to go use the restroom, and I grabbed the handle, and before I grabbed the handle, I looked and it said, available, because when you lock it from the inside, it changes from white to red or something to show that someone's not in there, and it says available. So I'm like, okay, so I grabbed the handle, I push, I was like, oh, well, that's weird, that didn't work. Okay, so I pull, and that didn't work, and I was like, am I just not giving it enough oomph? And so I pushed a little bit harder, and that didn't work. I pulled a little bit harder. I'm like, what is going on? And then I finally realized it's a sliding door. A sliding door. And then it just like opens just fine. But I almost ripped the door off the proverbial, proverbial hinges. Golly. But yeah, that was funny. And it turns out that since then we've encountered a lot of sliding doors in public, which you never run into sliding doors in public in America, not that I remember. So anyways, that was another funny thing. But yeah, just getting used to a lot of things. But let's talk about our kids. What did we do with our kids when we first got here?
The first thing that we did for them was Jacaranda is going to a Yochien here, which is a Japanese preschool kindergarten. They do it for 3 years from ages 3, 4, and 5. So she's in the middle class and she really loves it. And she gets Japanese how many hours a day?
Like 8 hours, like 6 hours a day.
6 hours a day?
Yeah.
And so she's been really enjoying her Yochien.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've been a teacher for 12 years and we've had school-age kids, but since we've been homeschooling, I've only seen the teacher side of the open house. And this is the first time we went to the parent side of the open house. And I was like, oh, this is how all the parents of my students have felt like coming to an open house. And it was kind of funny. And they had all the parents stand up in front of the other parents and introduce themselves, of course, in Japanese. And so I got to do that. And I'm just maybe glad, over and over again, I've been glad that I've studied Japanese and to be able to express basic ideas. And so have a long way to go, but that was cool to be able to introduce our family in Japanese to the other families.
And she's been making friends, and Stephen and Krista McCraney's daughter is in her same class, and our team leaders, Ben and Julie Jensen, their son is in the same class. So she's had this opportunity to be with them as well as to be with her teacher who speaks to her in Japanese and encourages her to speak back. And
there's a ton of kids at this school, and I mean, those are basically the only foreigners, or the ones we just mentioned.
In her grade, there's a couple in the other ones.
Are there? Okay, but it's really a lot of Japanese kids, and they've been serving this area for like 50 or 60 years.
It's been a long
and
time,
so this Yochien is very well known in this area, this kindergarten. So.
And there's a church chapel that is connected to the Yochien that they have as well.
Yeah, and that we've been attending church there, and so that's been really cool to have that connection there.
And then after Jacaranda started Yochien, a couple weeks later, Clive and Lily started to attend Nagoya Christian School, where Alex will be teaching. And actually did teach.
Yes, we'll get to that later.
And so they got to go there for the end of the school year, and they loved it. Lily loved being with other kids and having friends, and I think Clive really enjoyed doing math, and they got to write stories and share that at the end of the year celebration.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting for them.
Yeah,
and
they just loved NCS.
Yeah, so they can't wait to go back.
And Heather May was really happy that that even though we had an irregular schedule of homeschooling, that the kids weren't really that behind at all.
Yeah.
Like they were on track, and so well done. And then Eleanor was our furniture buddy for a while.
Yes, she got to tag along with us because we thought that we would have her join Clive and Lily at NCS in September for first grade, because she would be in American first grade. So she tagged along with us for a while, helping us find what we needed for our house, which was really special and sweet to have her just tag along with us and join us and give her own little 6-year-old opinion on what it is we were buying and stuff.
Sure.
And but one of the days Alex was at school, they had asked him why we didn't put her into Japanese.
They just kind of brought it up like, oh, what do you want to do with Eleanor? And at the time, they didn't have space for her to be going to NCS at the same time as Clive and Lily.
It was she was a kindergartner, American kindergartner.
Oh, that's true. She wasn't old. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's a first grade through 12th grade. So K through 12 was used loosely in that regard for Nagoya Christian School. But but anyways, they just said, what if you put her in a Japanese elementary school? And I was like, well, I don't know, like, uh, and this is all because I gotten a weird phone call like that said, this is all in Japanese, by the way, like, your textbooks are ready to pick up at the school. And I was like, my textbooks? And I was like, but we told them at City Hall, because this is all because we signed up at City Hall and they knew who our kids' names were, and I guess I got texts from them. We told them at City Hall they weren't going to go to public school, and so I brought it up at the meeting, and they said, oh yeah, it's okay to just go pick up the books. That's what they want you to do. And it's like, but why don't you put Eleanor in there? Like, does she have the right personality? Would she be flexible going to a school where she couldn't understand most of everything? I was like, actually, I think she would. And we prayed about it that night, Heather May and I did, and we kind of had to make a quick decision. But like, it was crazy how God entered into that space with us and just gave us a clear conviction. Yes, let's put her in the public school. Let's try this. And so we did. And it just so happened that the very next day, another teammate, Darlene, was able to help us and go back to City Hall and do more paperwork there. And then Stephen, our friend, was also able to help us go to the school and meet with the admin there to kind of initiate this process and figure out when her first day would be. And so it was just kind of like a God thing that all kind of lined up. And she has loved going to school, and she's made friends that she's told us about, and we've reached out to those to families, and we did a sports night where I met a bunch of other families there. And so there's a ton of blessings, and we have to keep things brief for this first update, and we'll be able to feed you more information as time goes on. But it's been a real blessing going to this school, and they've been really inclusive of our family.
They've really been encouraging towards her and kind, and wanting her to feel like she's not a guest there, but she belongs there. And it's been really special. And so it's been also neat to see how she's picking up Japanese. She's doing a lot of listening, and she has gotten really shy about speaking, but man, it's cool when someone talks to her in Japanese and she responds to them. We're just like, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's been really, really special.
Yeah. And so when we first moved here, we knew that it was a custom that when you move into a new area that you should write notes to your neighbors and bring gifts. And so Heather May thought through the gift part of that.
Before we had left the U.S., I had looked up some special things that perhaps our Japanese neighbors may enjoy from the States. And some of those things are like, everyone seems to love the dark chocolate peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's, and also Jelly Bellies and trail mixes. That was like a number one thing on several lists that I read, and I was like, cool, let's do it. So,
and then you also got these rags that are like Southwest style reusable rags. Oh yeah,
those like Swedish kitchen cloths that are like reusable kitchen cloths. And so I also read that it's really special if you bring something that is like reminiscent of where you're from. And so being from New Mexico, there are these really beautiful Southwestern Swedish dishcloths. Yeah. So we gave some of those as well.
And so I got to practice writing in Japanese, and I, of course, relied on some machine translation and then also displaying the text on my computer while referencing it while writing. So definitely not self-proficient on writing in Japanese all by myself. But it was cool to be able to write these notes to all of our neighbors, and we even did some corner neighbors because we just wanted to make sure that we were kind of known in the neighborhood. So 6 of our neighbors we wrote notes to, gave these gift bags to, and we had a really positive reception. The people who answered.
And the children also drew.
Oh, that's true.
Little cards for each family too, so that was a special thing from our children as well.
Yeah, and so the neighbors who were there when we knocked, they were really happy and welcoming towards us, and some of them even knew a little bit of English. And Japanese are very sensitive to keeping the scales balanced in terms of gift giving. And so some of them even had return gifts, like, hold on a minute. And they went back into their house and got a gift. Here's a gift for you. And they instantly balanced the scales. And it was just so funny to be like, I read about this mindset and Japanese mindset, and there it was. And then other neighbors came later and brought gifts to us to welcome us to the neighborhood and kind of balance the scales of gift giving there too. And it was just funny, but it was really cool because doing this actually has opened us up to interactions with our neighbors that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And so we noticed that this neighbor on this side over here, they were clipping their bushes, and our bush is crazy overgrown. Heather May, thank goodness for Amazon, because it just makes it easy when you don't know where to shop for things. But Heather May looked up clippers for the bushes and got some gloves, some work gloves. And so next time he was out there clipping bushes, and I said, Heather May, I'm going to go out there. And so I got out there and I said, hey, do you mind if I join you in Japanese? And he said, oh, yes, please. And so we're both clipping our bushes together, but then we probably were productive for like 3 minutes, but then he just wanted to talk, and we ended up stopping working, and we just talked back and forth for like 45 minutes or so, and just like me learning about them, how long they've been here. For 40 years they've been in this house, and them learning about us, like where did we come here from, and what are we up to, and what are we doing, and it was really sweet that since then there's been other really positive interactions. Like the wife came by and gave us a big old hydrangea.
2 hydrangeas like the size of my head. And some lilies. And she said it was because she knew that our girls were named after flowers. And so she wanted to share these flowers with us. And that was really, really sweet.
And when she came, she also told us about a festival that was coming up.
That was actually a different day.
Oh, it was a different day.
On another day, Eleanor and I were doing her homework on the patio here. And when she was walking home, and she came over and said hello to us and talked to Eleanor and Jacaranda in Japanese, which it was so cool. But then she asked if I had a minute, and I was like, yes. And so she went back into her house and came out with a flyer that I was talking about. The area we live in is called Kaguyama, and the Kaguyama Festival is happening on August 2nd. And so she came and asked us if, do you want to go? And Jacaranda was like, Isho ni? At her, which means together with you. And so she was just like, oh, yes, on that day we meet here, 5:30, okay? And I was just like, yes. And so it was just so cute that like, it was Jacaranda who like set us up with this cool little date to go to the Kaguyama Festival with our neighbors.
Yes, so we're looking forward to that. And yeah, just pray for them. During our 45-minute conversation, I learned that they, practice some Buddhist traditions, and I told them that I'm a Christian and that we are going to a Christian church, and I told them about the Yochien, the kindergarten that Jaxie's going to, and that the church is attached to that. And he said, oh yeah, I know about that, and because it's just well known in the area. And so just pray for them and pray for interactions. Another cool interaction we had is like a month into moving here, we just went to this big park. And for those of you who live in Houston, it's about the size of Armand Bayou. So there's it's a big forest you can just walk through, and it's kind of like a hiking area, very level, so not like New Mexico hiking, more like Houston hiking. And so very, very level, but beautiful trees. And we ran across this couple, and we kind of waved and said goodbye, and we ran across them again, and then we ran across them again, and like the third time, I just spoke to them in Japanese, saying like, oh, this is the first time that we've ever seen a bamboo forest, because different sections have different types of forests, and honestly, bamboo forests are so not what I expected, but they're so like amazing. They're like exceeded any expectations I might have had of them. They're hollow. You knock on them and they're hollow on the inside.
They're like huge, these bamboo trees. Yeah. I didn't know they could get so huge.
Yeah, so anyways, they brightened right up when I talked to them in Japanese, and we ended up talking for a while, and then we said goodbye, and then I like kind of kicked myself afterwards, and I was like, oh, we should have exchanged contact information with them. I was like, well, Lord, if you want that to happen, only you can make it happen. And so later when we were walking and hiking, we did run into them again, and I was like, let's exchange contact info. And so we did. And so he and I over text have, the husband and I have been talking, and this is an older couple, and our next door neighbors are also an older couple as well. But we agreed, our park friends, we agreed that we wanted to be pen pals over text. And so we've been just going back and forth and learning about his family and him learning about us. And it's been a really great exercise for me to type in Japanese and work on expressing myself and understanding what he's sending to me. And so it's been a blossoming friendship, and so please pray for that as well.
We also want to say thank you so much for your prayers for us as we've been settling in, and we've had the ups and downs and the joys and the sorrows of transition. Because honestly, There have been so many beautiful and joyful things, and yet so many very difficult and hard situations during this season. And we've been making silly mistakes. And I think just the nature of a giant transition, our children, even though they do get along often, they also fight very often too. And so we are grateful for your prayers, because we know that there are, you guys are praying for us and lifting us up to the Lord, and that encourages our hearts so much to continue to pursue Jesus and pursue reconciliation within our family, so that it could overflow into the people around us.
And an insight that our sister-in-law, Monica, my brother's wife, had is that, moving overseas must be like giving birth, is that everything is just so new and different, and it takes time to get used to that and to adjust to a new season of life. And it is kind of like that. I remember when we first had Clive, everything changed, and everything's changed again. And
nothing will ever be the same. It doesn't ever return to pre-Clive time. Just like we there will never be a time in our lives that we haven't lived in Japan, if that makes sense. However long the Lord allows us to be here, we did come. That happened.
Yeah.
And so living in a new normal, in a new situation, in a new transition, you never return to what was before. I guess it's kind of I just, sorry, reminds me of just, we cling to Christ. We don't cling to what lies behind. We don't cling to what we hope necessarily is in the future, except Jesus in the future. Jesus with us and in us and around us and working through us in hopes that he's going to make himself known, that is truly our hope for the future. That's the only thing we can really hold on to. Yeah. We've been told so many times, nothing stays the same. Every single thing changes. That's the one thing you can count on. Everything changes except Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so, thank you for praying. And even though it has been hard, we also feel great being here. We feel like this is where we're supposed to be. We feel a lot of confirmation living here. And we feel like we are here for the long run, for the long haul. And we just feel like this is where God has us for now and for a long time. And so we're really happy to be here. And we did mention earlier that I did start teaching. I did teach for 5 weeks, and it gave me a lot of insight into what it'll be like teaching here. But this newsletter was already getting quite long, and so we decided to cut it off, the talking about teaching until a future newsletter. And speaking of future newsletters, this part of what took us so long to get this newsletter out is sticking to this format that we had already established. And we realized that we're going to need to shake up the format in which we do newsletters in order to be in better touch with you.
Because when we were in the States, it was our everyday job, in a sense, to support Raise and be able to do newsletters like this. And so we could devote a lot of our time and our energy to it. But now that we've come to Japan, everything has changed, and there's a lot more responsibility and expectations on what it looks like to live in Japan and be a part of our team here in Japan and part of the school in Japan.
So it used to be that all we were focused on was raising support to be able to come, but now that is still part of our job, is that we want to stay in touch with you guys. You guys are holding the rope in the same way that maybe you've heard this comparison that when Paul needed to escape, that other people held the rope and lowered him down, and you guys are lowering us down into Japan right now. And so we want to be in touch with you. We couldn't be doing this without you. But now that is only a part of our jobs. We are also language learning. We're also teaching at the school. We're also participating in the church planting team.
And we also have our 4 kids in 3 different schools when we used to all only be homeschooled. So that is a lot as well.
Yeah. So all that to say is that we're thinking about different ways we can do that, and the way that's on top of our minds right now is sending out much smaller micro updates and then combine those to make a summary update. But even what I'm saying right now, don't count on it too much, because we're still thinking about it and praying about it and trying to figure that out.
But overall, we just want you to know that we are brainstorming ways so that we can continue to be in contact. But a lot of what we're doing is what we're supposed to be doing is being involved here, and we can't do that without you. So thank you so much, and know that we love you all and we pray for you and we thank God for you every time we remember you. So we're really grateful. Thank you so much for how you have given and the blessing that you have poured out on us because of what Jesus has given you to give us.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us what Jesus has given to you. It's such a blessing. And that wraps up the main section of our newsletters, and we're going to go ahead and move into further stories where we talk about further stories.
So starting with our van, we just think it's an incredible feat that it actually made it to the airport because it was on its last leg, literally limping to the airport. And
by literally limping, we mean that it went into limp mode. Meaning it's like stuttering its way along.
And it started its way up the hill, right to the gate where we were supposed to check in. And so it was crazy, guys, because the night before we left, a couple nights before we left, because we didn't use it before then, we visited some friends, and on our way home, it was stuttering on the highway, and we were just like, 2 more days, baby, come on, just 2 more days.
But those friends that we were visiting, they just totally asked out of the blue, totally unplanned. They're just like, so what are you going to do with your car? And we're like, I don't know, give it away? just sell it for $5 to CarMax or something. And it was crazy because they said, actually, I'm really good at fixing up cars and reselling. I'm like, what? Really? And he's like, yeah, well, I'll do that for you. And I was like, no way. Like, come on, this car is falling apart. And he said, no, I'll do a good job and I'll be honest about how I present the car and I'll sell it for you and I'll get you the money. And I'm like, we were just like so blown away that like that was a huge stressor for us about like how are we gonna take care of this car. And
because it's falling apart.
Yeah.
We didn't really feel like I wouldn't want to give away something that's falling apart, you know?
Right. So it was just a huge blessing that they took that off of our shoulders, and it did so, and it did help us. So thank you again.
So we're so glad it survived to the airport. We couldn't go above 40 miles an hour on the highway to the airport because that's when it started stuttering.
Yeah.
Or anytime like you rev the engine up too much. So it was just a miracle that on that last hill trying to like get up and it was scary, but it made it. God got us there. It lasted until the end.
So now let's talk about the visa situation. And so last time we talked to you, we talked about the COEs being received.
And just as a review, a COE is a certificate of eligibility.
Yes.
And can you tell them what that means real quick?
It's basically the golden ticket to getting a visa. And so if you show the Japan consulate in America that you have a COE, they can confidently give you a visa.
Yes. And we couldn't go to Japan without our COE and our visa. Those things needed to happen together. So we had been waiting for months for our COE, but it had been held up because of Eleanor's birth certificate, which all got figured out in the end.
Yes.
And then our team finally got the COE, and they mailed it to us the fastest they could do, which the person at the post office told them would be about a week. So we, hoping for it to be about a week, thought, we'll go ahead and buy our flights. And then we decided we wanted to buy flights that would happen sooner than later, but people had told us that
it would probably be better to just be safe rather than sorry. And so as much as we just wanted to get to Japan as soon as possible, we had moved out of our casita. We were living down at the main house with Pops, and we have been wanting to get to Japan for years and like, let's just go now. But we got advice from the McCraneys and from other people, maybe it'd be better just in case the unexpected happens that that maybe just plan a little bit further out. And so we did. We got the flights, and I'm really glad we did that because the unexpected did happen. And it didn't just take 1 week, it took like a full 2 weeks and a few extra days beyond that. And that was crazy.
We were trying to check the shipping, the
tracking
of our COEs, but it was just not clear at all. It was in Japan for like a week and a half. And then all of a sudden it was in Chicago. And then like very next day it said Santa Fe. We're like, oh no, okay, wow. And so normally our mail doesn't show up till like 6 p.m., but we're like really hoping to find it, that it comes sooner on the day that it said it was in Santa Fe on delivery. And Alex's pop had left the house at around like noonish that day, and he called us to tell us the mail person was there at noon. And so Alex just drives out to the mailbox. It is a drive away, it's not very close to our house. And he gets out and they hand it to him. The golden ticket, the COEs that are going to allow us to get our visas. He rushes them home. And I had already filled out all of the application for our visas. I just needed the information on the COEs. So I quickly filled it out, double checked, triple checked, drove to FedEx, checked it all one more time, just to be sure. And then I handed it into FedEx. I paid for overnight shipping, and that was on a Thursday.
But you also included what in your shipment?
An envelope.
The return envelope,
which was also an overnight return envelope. So I had planned all of this because everything on their website said they need 5 full business days to complete the visa process. So since I sent it on the Thursday, I paid for it to make it to the visa office by 8 a.m. on Friday. Logically, they'd have all of Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, send it back next Friday. We leave that Sunday. So that was how it was supposed to work. But we got a call Wednesday the next week from the consulate because they saw, hey, looks like you're supposed to be leaving on Sunday and we're not going to have your visas on time. And we're like, what? And the thing is, they needed 1 extra day, and the return envelope I gave them didn't include weekend shipping. And so we were just scrambling to figure out, what do I do? Do I drive up to Denver to go get them? Can we go to FedEx and somehow figure out how to pay for, like, get a different envelope to them or shipping to them? And I was also talking with the consulate because they were trying their best to truly help us. And they said, we suggest you drive or you fly up here. You come in person. And so it was supposed to snow, and there were several other things. I actually really looked forward to driving because I enjoy driving, especially that drive. But we had a prayer meeting, and some of our friends and partners wanted to just walk with us through this. We had a time of prayer, and then one of them offered to pay for my flight. And so since I had been the one doing all of the visa paperwork and being really involved in it, we decided it'd probably be better if I was the one to go get the visa. And so we booked a flight that night we booked the flight for the following morning. And so I went and stayed the night with my parents, and my dad drove me to the airport at like 4 a.m. and flew to Denver, rented a car, and drove to the consulate. And the whole time still wondering, will it happen? Do they exist? And so it was a pretty wonderful experience to have her like hand them to me, and all of our passports we got back with our visas, and it was just like a kind of crazy moment of being like, wow, we actually will get to take our flight in 2 days. And so flew right back to New Mexico, and it was incredible. It was amazing to know that we would get to make it to our flight.
And it was maybe you knew about this before I did, but I don't think that we even thought about flying or driving up there. We were just like hoping, like, how do we get them an envelope? But then we ended up asking for prayer from Teresa, and she's the one who organized that prayer meeting. And they were like, well, why don't you fly? And we're like, oh yeah,
I hadn't considered a flight at all. I definitely was considering driving, but a flight didn't. I think the reason was because flights are so expensive, and I was like,
but that's what was amazing is that one of them reached out to us personally and just said, you know what, I want to buy that flight. And we said, wow, thank you so much. And the response was, you know what, it's God just providing for you guys. And we're like, yeah, it is. Thank you, Jesus. And so that flight was taken care of, and Heather May went to Denver and back in a day and got that. So that was wild and crazy.
Yeah.
So anyways, one other thing that happened while we were still in New Mexico was that Heather May's brother and sister arranged a surprise visit, and that was really special.
Yeah, they both drove from, my brother flew to Dallas to meet my sister, and then they both drove to New Mexico to Santa Fe to see me for a couple days. and it was really lovely. I didn't expect I'd get to see them, and that was an awesome visit from them. Really special.
Yeah. And so the last thing we just want to share with you was our trip to Alabama and Georgia. So this is rewinding before this last story. So this is the earliest thing that we haven't gotten to share with you, but we really wanted to touch on it. Is that we went to pre-field training, and then since we were in that area of the United States, we went to pre-field training in Georgia. And since we were in that area of the pre-field states, we were in that area of the United States. We went down to Alabama to 3 different missions conferences that were happening at that time. But pre-field was really great. We learned about culture shock, language learning, transition, and the kids also, and theology of missions. And the kids also had their own training.
Yeah, the children each had their own separate training in their respective classes. And that was really awesome because it gave them a common language to talk even with us about what transition and moving to a whole new place is. It's a very different situation, and they see it from a different perspective too as little ones. And so it was really great. Like, we learned about like is it the bridge or the arch of transition? I think they gave us several different ways to view it, but you basically have like settled, unsettled, chaos, resettling, and then settled. And the chaos part,
so it's like thunderclouds and the bridge is broken.
It's
and
like the bridge is missing a step and stuff like that. And Eleanor's just like, are we in chaos?
Are we in chaos right now? And
we're like, no, yes, maybe.
And anyways, it was also really cool to meet a bunch of other MTW missionaries going
Yes.
all over the world.
Yeah.
Including one that just happened to be also going to Nagoya, Japan. And so she arrived a few months after we did.
Yeah.
But that pre-field was amazing.
And it was good also for the kids that they got to meet other kids going through the same thing that they're going through.
Yeah.
I think that helped them feel like they weren't the only ones and they could be seen like that.
Yeah. And then, directly afterwards, we went to some missions conferences.
Yes. So we went to our first mission conference in Birmingham, Alabama, and we actually recorded a newsletter right before that, didn't we?
I think it was right before we left. We had just finished pre-field, and then when we were in the hotel room right before going to the conferences,
That's right.
we recorded a newsletter in our hotel room and
Yes.
sent that off to you guys.
Yes. And so those were really great opportunities to meet our some churches that had been supporting us. We'd never been a part of a missions conference before, and that was a delight. It was so cool, and we felt so loved.
And just so many people who were just had this heart for missions and for Jesus being known around the world and making an effort for that. And it just so happened that the guest speakers at 2 of these missions conferences, actually all 3 of them were people that we already knew. And so, well, actually, we knew by name all of them except for one, and then 2 of them we knew by name, but we got to meet face to face. And so it was really great to hear people speak, but it was also just amazing to make these connections with these churches. And they gave us opportunities to speak to large groups of people, and we got to meet a ton of people, and some of them even joined our support team at the last minute and just helped us reach that final barrier of getting to 100%. And so we're so thankful to have you on our sending team, and it was just amazing how well they took care of us, took care of our kids, and just really loved us well, and we felt the love.
We sure did. It was so great. Our kids, man, they loved all the missions conferences because they had so many opportunities for our kids to do things and meet other kids, and so we really enjoyed that. And then, unfortunately, we all got really, really sick, which is why no one saw us again.
Well, that did disrupt us a bit, and there were a few days where I had to go by myself, but
Yeah.
eventually everyone started to recover, but we did all eventually get better, but it was a bit of a disruption. But the last thing we wanted to share with you is that while we were in Dothan, we had a gathering of people who had already joined our sending team, and it was at a coffee shop. It was hosted at a coffee shop that is owned by some friends of ours, and it was really beautiful.
It was so lovely. opened it up, and they even joined it and hung out with us, and the friends and that we have made in Alabama and Dothan, and it was a really lovely opportunity to have a deeper conversation, meet with people face to face, and celebrate what God has done and what He is doing and what He promises He's going to continue to do in His faithfulness.
All with handmade mochi desserts.
Our friend, she made onigiris and she made mochi desserts, and it was just
and
so
coffee,
wonderful.
and so it was a really wonderful gathering and kind of just a foretaste of heaven, just the gathering of the saints. So thank you if you made it to the very end of this very long newsletter. We are so happy to have you following along with us and praying for us and praying for our new friends here in Japan. And we will continue to keep you updated on what we're doing. So we'll see you next time. Bye.